I give the floor to Mr. Nicholson, I just have to say a couple words about him. When I started teaching at Loyola, it was already about 17 years ago, there was a sophomore retreat that was really neat. We used to take 30 sophomores up Vermont to Los Feliz, and somewhere tucked in the hills over there, there is still today this ginormous retreat house where sophomores would spend the day away from school doing a retreat. And for that retreat, there would be a group of 30 students, 30 sophomores, and 2 or 3 adults that were there. So I really enjoyed going there for that retreat. And I would go with different adults 2 or 3 times a year because I really enjoyed doing that. You know, it was maybe 4 or 5 years into my teaching here. Of course, I had heard about Mr. Nicholson. Didn't know much about him except that, you know, he had coached and he you know, seemed to be like a nice guy, and I heard good things about him, but didn't know much more than that. And one day at that retreat we happened to be together. There might have been a third person, but I forget. But I was walking around to kind of listen to what was going on in the small group sharing, and I heard Mr. Nicholson talk to the boys about something that had to do with the retreat. And I forget what he was talking about, but what I remember is how he talked to the boys and how the boys were listening to him. And I thought to myself, wow, this is really special. This guy knows how to connect with the boys. They really feel like he has great stuff to share with him. So after that retreat, Mr. Nicholson took another dimension for me. He was more than just the guy I had heard of who was nice and kind of funny and all that, but he just had another dimension that was much more important. So, you know, the True Gentlemen's Club has been on for like 2.5 years or so. His presence here was long overdue, so it's with great honor that I present to you Coach Nicholson.
Well, thank you, Cedric. Hey, first of all, I would like to thank Cedric for having me, and this is really a cool club. It's really a special club that Mr. Ebner runs, and to have a guy like Mr. Ebner that gives up his lunch time. He's in here every day, every lunch, and for him to sacrifice the time that he does, I think that we owe him a big round of applause, huh? Well, thank you, Cedric. I think this is so important. This is so important that he teaches you guys how to be a gentleman, and I so wish that I had an opportunity to experience something like this when I was your age. So, man, Sed, you do a great job with this. So the grit thing, Sed just came in and asked me to speak one day. He goes, "Hey, would you mind sharing your grit story?" I was just telling our class, and I'm on a website. I'm on a mailing list from John Gordon, and John Gordon is a motivational speaker. He's a leadership guy. And I was just reading, I'm on his email chain, and I was just reading one day what he had to say. And he was talking about grit, but he referred to a psychologist named Angela Duckworth. And a lot of his findings were from what she said. Now, I would really encourage you guys to watch this TED Talk from Dr. Duckworth on grit. Some of you guys, how many of you guys have seen it, right? Some of you guys have seen the grit. You guys are in my class, and I show it to our class. It's really good, and I think you guys would really enjoy it. And what she had to say, and what John was writing about, was the importance of grit. And we hear the word thrown around a lot, but research shows us, according to Dr. Duckworth, who is a psychologist at UPenn, it's the key predictor of success. And I took what she had to say, I took her research to heart, because as we can see, she's pretty well schooled. I think we would all like that on our resume. Graduated from Harvard, neurobiology, I can't even imagine what that entailed. Went to Oxford, so she's probably a Rhodes Scholar. And then she went into teaching and decided to go back and get her, she was in corporate America, decided to teach middle school math to 7th graders, and then she did that for a little while, and then decided to go to UPenn and get her doctorate in psychology, and that's what she does now. So grit, just keep that in mind. Grit, it's the key predictor of success according to her research. And how do we define it? Well, this is the way she defines it. This is the way she defines it. It's the ability to work hard for a long period of time. I think if we think about our academic time here at Loyola, 4 years, kind of seems like a long time. Toward a focused goal and keep moving forward in spite of challenges, obstacles, and failures. And I think that is so important. The ability to work hard for a long period of time toward a focused goal and keep moving forward in spite of challenges, obstacles, and failures. And in life, we're going to have them. We're going to fail in life. We're going to fail in relationships. We're going to fail a test. We're going to have obstacles in the classroom. We're going to have obstacles that you guys are going to have to overcome at Loyola and in your life. And it's good for us to fail, as long as we learn from it. Failure's okay. Failure's okay. Challenges are good. And they're going to happen. And they're going to happen a lot. But what successful people do, they just keep moving on. And they don't let anything stand in their way. So move forward. Control what you can. I talk a lot about, I coach a summer team in the summer, and I always ask those guys, and I ask our classes to understand their why. Why did you choose Loyola? Why are you playing summer baseball? Why do you want to go to UCLA? Why do you make the decisions you make? Why do I have to take Algebra 2? And I explain that to our guys, why we do stuff. Because if we understand why we're doing stuff, if we can understand our why do I teach? I have to ask myself that occasionally. Why am I continuing to do what I do at Loyola High School? And it has to make sense. And when I can answer that with sensible answers, then my life has meaning and purpose. And it gives me internal drive. But know your why with whatever you're doing. And make sure your reasons are good, solid reasons. In the TED Talk from Dr. Duckworth that I've watched probably 8 to 10 times, these were my takeaways. These were my takeaways. Grit, perseverance is greater than talent. The talented people, the research shows, are not the people that are most successful. Now, if you have grit and talent, you're money. You have talent without grit, you're not going to be as successful. It's not the smartest guys. It's not the smartest guys. It's not the guys with the highest IQ that are successful. It's the grittier dudes. It's the grittier dudes and gals. Remember this, that when we fail, it's not permanent. It's not permanent. Pete Carroll, pretty good football coach at USC, now with the Seahawks, used to say it's all about the bounce. We got to bounce back. We've got to bounce back, and we have to respond and not react. Respond and not react. And I think the difference is sometimes when we react, we don't really think. We react. When we respond, we're a little more pensive. We're a little more pensive. We want to persevere. We want to be grinders. The summer team I coach in the summer, when I talk to coaches and they want to send us a player, when they say he's a grinder, I want that guy. We play 50 games in 60 nights, and it's hot, and it's humid, and we'll play 15 nights in a row. And we need grinders if we're going to be successful. We need grinders. Here's what I'll really hit home. She says, everybody can learn. We can all learn the material. You guys can all learn the material in every one of your courses if you do this. If you work long enough and hard enough, you can do it. The brain responds to challenges. It responds to challenges. When you read about the brain, you study the brain, it responds, man. Just remember that failure's not fatal. It's not permanent. Learn, bounce, and move on. How do we develop it? How do you develop grit? I want to be gritty. Those are the most successful people. How do I develop grit? You know how you do it? With effort. Effort. You got to put forth effort in everything you do. Whether it's a relationship, whether it's with Mr. Ebner and his wife, he's got to have some grit. He's got to have some perseverance. They're not always going to get along. You got to have some stick-to-itiveness. And you have to persevere. And it's not always going to be a bed of roses, whatever you're doing. Learn from adversity and learn from challenges and keep moving forward. It's called a growth mindset. It's a growth mindset. But just remember, you work long and hard enough, you can do whatever you guys want to do. You guys know that. And we can do it all with great effort. We can do it all with great effort. Now, I think that was my last slide. I want to show you, if I can do this, Sid, how do I close this out?
Escape. Please.
And I want to show you, how do I get right picture. Oh, it's up there. How do I get it over there? Slide it over. Can you slide that picture? Okay, good. Good. Get him up there a little higher. Okay? This is a picture of Marcus Stroman. And I'm going to show you two pictures of two of the grittiest guys I know. Because we're males, right? We respond visually. Marcus Stroman is a kid that went to Duke. He played on our summer team in 2010. He's 5'8". He's built like a pit bull. And everybody said he was too short. He's too short. He's not going to be a first rounder. He's too short. He's not going to pitch in the big leagues. He's not going to be a starter. He might be a reliever. He's too little. You don't see 5'8" starters in the big leagues. Okay? Well, he's a first rounder. He was picked in the first round by the Blue Jays. He was going to be in their rotation this year. Goes to spring training in March, and they're just doing a routine bunt play. And he gets called off the baseball by Josh Donaldson. Right? Donaldson's probably going to be the MVP, right, of the American League. He gets called off. Stroh plants his left knee and blows out his ACL. Blows out his ACL. They get him into the training room. He sees the doctor. Doctor says, "You're going to be out all year." He says, "I need a couple minutes, doc." He calls his mom. He calls his dad. And he calls his best friend. He just needed some time to be alone. The doctor comes back in, and Stroh says, "I'm pitching in September, doc." Well, that's a 9 to 12 month rehab. And Stroh says, "I'm going to do it in 6 months. And I'm going to pitch in the big leagues." And in September, you know what he does? He pitches in the big leagues. And he does pretty well. I think he went 4-0, had some pretty good postseason starts. He goes by, he's got his own little hat line. It's HDMH. HDMH. And the HDMH stands for height doesn't measure heart. Height doesn't measure heart. So, in May, to get ready for his return to the big leagues, you know what he does. So he has surgery in March. He goes down in May, goes down to Duke. 5 hours a day, 6 days a week, he's doing his physical therapy, working with doctors and trainers and whatnot. And after his 5 hours of physical rehab every day for 6 days a week, you know what he does? He goes to class and he finishes his degree at Duke. And he graduated this year from Duke. I don't know a much grittier guy. Now he's gritty. Stroh's gritty. But this next dude, can we get rid of Stroh? Is the most inspirational young man I've ever been around. By far. Can you maybe move that to the middle? His name is Josh Rachotsky. His name is Josh Rachotsky. You see anything a little bit different about Josh? He's the guy standing up. See anything different about Josh? What doesn't he have?
Legs.
What else doesn't he have? Yeah, he doesn't have any hands either. Doesn't have any hands and he doesn't have any legs. And he went in for strep throat at 13 years old. And he came out looking like that. His temperature spiked. And then his temperature dropped. And he was dying. And the only way to save his life, to get blood flowing to his organs, were to cut off his legs and chop off his fingers and his hands. He's a manager at Vanderbilt University. In order to be a manager in that baseball program, you have to have a physical disability. He obviously has one. The young man squatting has heart problems. He's a manager also at Vanderbilt. But when I got a phone call from the head coach at Vandy, Tim Corbin, and Tim said, "Hey Kelly, you got to find a job for Josh, man. He's going to be a general manager one day. He's going to be a general manager in the major leagues." And I really liked Tim, and I really liked their program, and I said, "Coach, we'll do what we can." And 2 summers ago, he came and he worked for us. He was our manager. And then last summer, he came back and he worked for us. And he also worked for the Yankees as a liaison for the Yankees. And who knows where he's going from there. But when I talked to him, when I called him when he was first going to come 2 summers ago, right before the summer of 2014, I said, "Josh, you have to help me, dude. You have to help me. I know your physical disabilities. I know what they are." He goes, "Coach, stop." He knew where I was going. He goes, "Stop." He goes, "I can do everything. I can ride a bike. I can drive a car. I can play catch. I can operate a cell phone. I can handle an iPad." He goes, "I can do everything. There's nothing I can't do." I have chills thinking about it. Phone call seems like it was yesterday. It's the most inspirational kid I've ever met. I watched him every day for the past 2 summers put his legs on. I watch him every day come into our coach's office and put his legs on. And I've never, until last summer, seen him with a pair of long pants on. It's the first time I saw him wear long pants. Saw him in a pair of khakis. He doesn't care. He threw out a first pitch for us this year. He put the ball right between. He put it right there. And he threw it. And he played high school baseball like this. Hit about 350, I think. He was pretty good. You know, they had a special bat that he could hold. But that dude doesn't let anything stand in his way. And neither did Marcus Stroman. And nothing should stand in your way. With effort and attitude and grit like those guys have, you guys can accomplish anything. So keep those guys in mind. You'll hear about it. You probably heard of Stroman. You're going to hear of Josh one day, Josh Rachotsky. He got the Pete Freitas Award. You know the Pete Freitas, the Ice Bucket Challenge? He and another buddy, you know where they pour the kid that has MS, right? He and the other dude back there won the Pete Freitas Award 2 years ago for college baseball's most inspirational something or other. Pretty cool. So, have some grit. Have some stick-to-itiveness. Persevere. Because that's got to be in your DNA. Those are the most successful people. That's what the research shows. So with that, I want to thank Mr. Ebner. Thank you, Mr. Joy and Mr. Gallagher for being here. Questions? Any questions? Sorry, I hope I didn't go too long. I didn't.
That's great.
Yes, sir, Coach.
Coach, you've coached for a long time here. Do you have some students that you've coached here at Loyola that strike you as extremely great?
I think Ryan Lefevre is great. I think Ryan Lefevre is a young man that graduated here in '89. Every time I see Ryan, he always says, make sure and tell Coach Joy I said hello. He loved Coach Joy. He was a really good athlete, a really good baseball player. His dad played for the Dodgers, and Ryan had a really good college career at the University of Minnesota and signed professionally and quit midway through his first year. Quit. Signed with the Indians and quit. And his mother called me and said, Kelly, you need to call Ryan. He quit. And I said, why did he quit? And she said, he told me he wants to be a major league broadcaster. And this past year, he called the final out for the Kansas City Royals in this year's World Series. He's been a major league broadcaster for 20 years now. He was the youngest major league broadcaster when he at that time at like 23 years old, he was working for the Twins. Married, 4 children. I think he's super, super gritty. Just he wasn't going to let anything stand in his way. And he sent me a text. He said, never 5 years ago did I think I'd call the final out for the world champion Kansas City Royals. Because they've been so shitty for so long. Right? It was pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Happened to major in broadcasting too at University of Minnesota.
Yeah, majored in broadcasting in Minnesota. He knew exactly what he wanted to do and he got after it. And he wasn't going to let professional baseball stand in his way. Super articulate, handsome, very well spoken, but man, he got after it. And he's had some challenges. He has a book out. He's had some severe depression. He was suicidal. It's all in his book. Yeah, he was gritty.
Other question. Anyone at Loyola that strikes you as being gritty?
Yeah, Steve Grady. Steve Grady. Yeah, gonna miss him.
Can you tell us a little bit about Coach Grady? We know him as a counselor.
Yeah, you know, he was as good a football coach as there was in the United States, I think. And we're gonna really miss him. He just inducted into the Hall of Fame. Never played for him, never coached with him, but I've never seen a guy with a work ethic of Steve Grady. Never. Crazy, crazy football coach and a good, he's a gentleman. He's a man's man.
And I think also how he's persevered through Brian's...
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great point. You know, his son Brian has MS and was, man, I think I was in my first year and Brian was like 8 or 9 or 10 years old.
And his older brother, successful athletes, older brothers.
Brothers, set of twin brothers. But Brian was kind of shaky if he was going to graduate from Loyola because that disease was going to kill him. And now Brian's probably 40 years old. And Steve doesn't ever say anything about it, but he's out visiting him all the time. And he's had some real challenges and obstacles, Coach Grady has. But he's persevered 40 years.
Anything else before we wrap it up? Yes, in the back.
How was grit been a part of your life?
I was just telling a class, I think I had to be gritty when my mom was diagnosed with cancer when I was 23. And then she died 2 years later. And it sucked. Because at 25, I realized what she was. That she loved me unconditionally, that she supported me unconditionally. And then I appreciated her, all the things she did for me. You guys will start to appreciate your mothers when you start having to do stuff on your own. Cook for yourself, do your laundry, go to the store, fill up the car with gas, keep your apartment clean, all the stuff that your mom does, all that shitty stuff your mother does for you, that you're going to have to do on your own, that's when you really appreciate your parents, is when you're out doing what they do. So it was tough. It was a tough time. And then 9 years later, my dad was diagnosed with cancer. And I remember it's like, I heard the news and I was like, all right, here we go, let's go. Let's do this. Because I'd been through it before. So I tried to use the wisdom from that challenge and that obstacle to help with my dad. And now students that have, when I have students that have lost a parent, I can empathize with that. And I try to help them with that. Lenny Washington, for example. I don't know if you guys know Lenny. On our basketball team, right? His mother passed away, and I believe she had cancer, right? And that's what my mom had, and so I was able to have some good conversations with him. But turn that negative for, it's going to happen to all of us, right? We're all going to die, but when it happens, everybody's shocked. I tell my fiance, if I die, don't cry. Have some fun, have a big party, and celebrate. Seriously. We're all going to die. But let's learn from it, and let's use what we learned to help others. And that's what we're here for. We're meant for others. That's our whole motto. Help one another. Derek Jeter retired. Somebody asked him, how do you want to be remembered? He said, I want to be remembered as a great teammate. You guys should want to be remembered as great classmates. Hey, John Gray. Oh, man. Nolan said, man, what a great classmate. Hunter Tiedemann's on the baseball team, and one of his teammates would say, man, Hunter, what a great teammate. To say about Coach Joy or Tom Gallagher, man, they were awesome to work with. That's how we want to be remembered. And I would challenge you guys to ask yourself that question. Ask yourself that question. How do you want to be remembered? How do you want to be remembered? What do you want them to put on your tombstone? What's going to go on your tombstone? What's your best friend 70 years from now, hopefully, going to say about you at your funeral? And that's the way we want to live our life. But we have to do it daily because it's not easy. It's not easy. But how do you guys want to be remembered?
Good question. Coach Nick, you're the man.
There was another question.
Question.
We're going to get interrupted.
You went through people in your life and students, and you mentioned like faculty. Are there any students that you see that are really gritty, or anybody that you taught that we would probably know about?
You know who seems like a gritty kid to me is his name is his dad does the football announcing.
Oh, Jake Malloy.
Jake Malloy. I love watching him play, man. I love watching him play baseball. I love watching him play football. He seems like a great teammate. He seems like a great classmate. He's not very physically talented. We would say he's kind of undersized. But man, he gets after it. I love watching that kid play. Love watching him play. And there are a lot of students this year that I have in class that I would say are gritty, that have good effort, that can fail a test and bounce back and get an A on the next one. That's a lot. That answer would be a lot of guys. And it's a good thing. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Do you want to take a picture with Coach Nick?
Yeah, let's get a photo. Big group photo.
Big group photo. Let's
Big
go.
group photo with Josh in the back.
Let's go.
Hey, what do you guys think? You have your day's going a little rough. Think about Josh Rachotsky.
You want to go there, guys?
That's a
Let's go. Let's go. Mr. Joey, can you put on the line? The other switch?
Put them down or up?
Up.
Get in here, guys. Hey, thanks for coming, you guys. I appreciate it. Get in here, boys.
Squeeze in, squeeze in.
Squeeze, squeeze.
I don't see anyone past Cameron, so you gotta sit down in front. And I don't see anyone past. No, I got everyone inside. We're good. We're good. Young, I don't have you. Go in the front.
Come on, Young.
Quick, quick.
Bonjour,
Cameron,
Young.
Cameron, you're not in.
How do you say come on in Latin?
Ali, Ali. Okay, 1, 2, 3. One more.
You get in there.
Oh, forget it. Too late. They gotta go. They gotta go.
Get in there.
Too late.
Oh, they gotta go now. All right, thanks, guys. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it.